Hey, what's up? My name's Mr Leeds, and in this video, I wanted to respond to Robert Lundy. Robert Lundy, if you're watching this, firstly, Robert, if that is your real name, thank you for asking a question on my YouTube channel. You know what, Robert? I'm going to answer your question. Also, Darren McGarry, I'm going to answer your question. Superstar, Izzy May, Alex Schofield, Billy Stevenson, username cannot be blank, Razvan Gabriel, Liam Outdoor Timmins, MMA Man. I'm going to answer your questions right now. So thank you for subscribing. Thank you for asking questions. If you're a subscriber of mine, you know what? Comment a question below in the comment box, and you know what? Next week, I'll answer your question too. So firstly, Robert Lundy. This is what Robert said. Hey, if you're not subscribed, do me a massive favor, subscribe right now. Also, I have to say, this is so important. By hitting the like button, you don't lose anything. It doesn't cost any money. You are not leaving a part of you somewhere else. It doesn't cost any money. So please do me a massive favor and just hit like. Hit like, that would mean so much to me. And then ask me a question below and I'll be answering your questions around property investment as best I can. Robert, I'm an aspiring deal sourcer and I've booked onto your deal selling masterclass. Boom, well done, brother. One question I have is I found it tricky booking viewings as I've had multiple agents ask for a mortgage in principle before they can book a viewing. Is there any way around this? All right, Robert Lundy. First thing I'm going to say is this. When you ring up to book a viewing, they will always ask you, are you buying mortgage or cash? They will always ask you, are you going to be, what's the purpose of the purchase? And what they mean by that is residential, namely, are you going to live in it, or investment? They'll always ask you for your address, your email, so they can just fill out a form and put you on the system. So when they ask you those questions, rather than thinking like, oh my gosh, freaking out, just answer them. Just say, it's going to be investment purposes. If they ask about how you're going to be financing it, you could say cash or mortgage, whatever the answer is. If you're going to be buying this property on behalf of somebody else, then answer it on behalf of them. So just say, my name is Robert Lundy. Yeah, I'll be purchasing it with a mortgage. It's all in place, it's all sorted, because you might not be buying it, but the person that you're looking for is. Also, if you've got investors that you're trying to source for, you can use the investors' proof of funds and mortgage in principle to show the estate agent. Estate agents right now in 2021, it's definitely a popping market right now. So there's a lot of people wanting to buy properties, and they might try and sometimes weed out the serious and the non-serious by asking some questions up front. But just be honest and tell them whether it's cash or mortgage. Tell them your situation. They don't like deal sources because deal sources are mostly time wasters and window shoppers that find a property and then can't even sell it or aren't actually working with any serious investors. Of course, for you, Robert Lundy, that's not going to be the case because you're working with me on the training soon. So I hope that helps. If it doesn't help, ask another question or ask me in a slightly different way, and I look forward to working with you real soon. Okay, Darren McGarry. What's up, brother? He says, how much money would you recommend needing to have to start off in buy, refurbish, refinance? What credit score is realistically needed? Depends. You don't need any money and you don't need any good credit either. Do you know why? Because when I started in buy, refurbish, refinance, I bought my first house for 100,000, refinanced it for 120. I was 17. I had no money. I had no ability to get credit. What did I do? Borrowed people's money, borrowed people's credibility. So you can always leverage, not only can you leverage other people's money, but you can leverage other people's time, other people's skills, other people's credit. So it's just about bringing people together in on your vision. So, I mean, you say realistically, I mean, if you're doing it yourself, realistically, if you're doing it yourself without bringing people in, I'd say you probably need about 30,000, 40,000 pounds to start with buy, refurbish, refinance, and then the rest you can just get a bridging loan. Credit-wise, you just need to speak to a mortgage broker that says that your credit is reasonable. Just, yes, you qualify for a mortgage, and that's that. Superstar, I have another question. Can you possibly pay your previous mortgage by using your refinanced property? I'm grateful for your videos and wishes you the best. Superstar, thank you so much. I appreciate you, you superstar. Yeah, you can. You can refinance a property and then pay your previous mortgage by using, you can shuffle around. So if you've got a property that you can pull equity out of, you can then put that towards another property. I mean, when you're getting a mortgage, it's just about being honest with the lender about what you're doing. So generally speaking, that's what I do all the time. I'll refinance here and I'll pay here and I'll shuffle money around and get the best rates. So yeah, you can do that. Okay, Izzy Ma says, is rent to rent still a practical strategy, especially up north where almost every agent doesn't seem to understand it and landlords say no? I would say, Izzy mate, if agents don't understand it, that's a good thing. I love it when I go into an estate agency and I say, hey, I'm looking to do a company let where I can take on the property and I'll be putting my clients into the property. This is how it works. And if they're like, what? I love it. Because if they've never heard of it before, if the agents haven't heard of it in a particular part of the country, then that's like ripe. That means that the agent isn't getting pitched every day by people looking to do rent to rents. That's a good thing. So you're saying, is rent to rent still practical, especially up north where almost every agent doesn't seem to understand it? Your job is to educate them. And landlords saying no, if I ask you, how many landlords have you spoken to that have said no? Guaranteed there's not more than 6 or 7. Yet I could find in 5 minutes 70 landlords in your area. So got to speak to more people. Speak to more people and improve what you're saying, improve your skill. If you're constantly thinking, I need to improve my skill, I need to improve my sales pitch, and I need to pitch to more people, I need to see more people, see more people, see more people, get better, get better, get better, and you're doing these 2 things together, that's when you're going to get rich. So yes, it's very viable up north, 100%. Man, I've got so many students killing it up north. Manchester, Newcastle, Leeds, Bradford, Huddersfield, killing it at rent to rents. All right, Alex Schofield. What do you recommend people do to get a property to an EPC Band C ready for 2025 government legislation on rentals? This will be costly. Good question. It's about being aware of it. It won't necessarily be costly either. In fact, often you're talking a few £1,000s. It depends on the property. Also, I'll be using it as a negotiation technique to buy cheap. So if there's a property that's an EPC Band D or an E, I'll be like, hang on. Yes, that's legal now, but soon I'm gonna have to spend money on maybe adding some insulation or whatever it might be to get the EPC down. So that's gonna have to reflect on the price. So here's my offer. So it's just about being aware of it. And if anyone doesn't know what we're talking about, EPC stands for Energy Performance Certificate. An A is really good. An E is not great. Anything higher than an E means the property is not energy efficient, and it means that you can't legally rent the property out. In 2025, they're saying that it has to be C, top end. You can see on the Energy Performance Certificate, you can see what the potential of the property has. So if it says, oh, it's currently a D, but it has potential to be a B, you can see that, oh, okay, so it has the potential. It just needs a little bit of money. What needs to be spent? What needs to happen? It's simple. I wouldn't worry about it too much. I'd just be aware of it. By the way, if you're enjoying this, hit the like. Don't cost you anything to hit the like button. Drop a question as well and I'll do my best to answer. Billy Stevenson, how much are sourcing fees roughly for each type of deal? Generally speaking, for like a basic vanilla buy-to-let, that's just like, oh, it stacks up. It's a buy-to-let. You might be talking about £1,500. For maybe a HMO property with a really good return, you might be talking 2,000 or 3,000. For a buy, refurbish, refinance, where you're going to be able to buy it, add value, pull your money out, you're probably talking 3 to 4 grand. If it's a really juicy BRR, pull all your money out and a HMO, you might be talking 5 grand. Standard. Of course, it depends on the buyer and depends on the value of the house. Like if you're talking, you're probably going to struggle to get a £5,000 finder's fee on a property that's a 100 grand house, because that's a 5% finder's fee. You might get a 10 grand finder's fee for a house in London that's just a vanilla buy-to-let because you've negotiated to buy it for £1 million. The value's 1.1 million. You got a little bit of a deal on it. you've got a tenant lined up, and someone might say, well, I want to buy in London. You've just negotiated 100 grand off the price. Sure, man, I'll give you 10 grand. So it's all relative. Ultimately, with every deal, if you're a deal sourcer, it's about having a willing buyer and a willing seller, like all business. What are they prepared to pay? Does it work for you? Does it work for the investor? If so, boom shaka, let's get that money in the bank. All right, username cannot be blank. I guess it's not blank technically, so we're all good. We're in the safe zone. I have a very varied share portfolio, circa £500,000, and I'm achieving 15 to 20% gain per annum. Do you think it would be best to invest some of this in property? If so, how? Listen, I'm not a financial advisor, okay? And I not only am I not a financial advisor, but also I can't stand here and say what you should and should not do with your money. I don't know loads about investing in shares either. 15 to 20% gain per annum. I assume you're talking capital gain. I don't know if you're getting any cash flow each month. I like cash flow. I like to buy. The reason I like property so much is because I buy it and it goes up in value over time and I'm getting monthly cash flow. I think property is one of the best investments there is. So of course I would say property, I would put some of it into property. You got $500,000. Damn, you could do some damage. Just even if you just say, look, I'm not too familiar with property. I'm going to just sort of start with a little house flip, a fixer-upper or something. Personally, if I'm really honest, I'd say that property is not the best investment on the planet. The best investment is you. If you've got $500,000 and you're looking to grow that as best you can, I'd probably put just, I don't know, 1% of that money into yourself, into your own education, and learn about the best ways to invest in property, the best areas, and you know, and grow yourself and grow your knowledge, and then probably that you'll find that that's the best investment. But I definitely would look at property, and I'm happy to help out. You know, come and join me at one of the events, and we can chat. I'll leave a link in the description. Come down, let's meet, let's talk, and yeah, I hope to see you get richer and richer. So awesome. All right, Razvan Gabriel, is there any way to legally have more than 2 lodgers? Thanks. All right, testing my knowledge now, right? Okay, 2 lodgers. Okay. If you are living in the house, you're a live-in landlord, you can have 2 lodgers, no problem. And you also aren't going to pay tax. You're going to get bedroom relief tax on the first £7,500. You won't pay any tax. If there's more than 2 lodgers, then the property, even if you're living there, will become a HMO. So of course you can, if you've got like 4 rooms, rent them out. But your property will become a HMO if it's more than 2 lodgers. So it does change things slightly. If you're not living in the property, if it's just a property, you're not there, then 1 lodger is okay. But more than 1 lodger, it becomes a HMO. So that's my understanding. And I'm not quite sure what your situation is, so happy to help further. But I mean, to be honest, you could probably speak to the council on this stuff, and they'll give you the information as well. But that's best of my knowledge. That is legally what the situation is with lodgers. Hope that helps. Liam Outdoor Timmins, is the current market sell or BRR system? Depends. I think BRR, buying a house, adding value, and then refinancing, works. We're in a great market for BRR. The question is, if you buy a house and you refurb it, do you want to refinance it or do you want to sell it? And the answer is, it depends on this. You want to work your numbers backwards. You want to look at, if you refinance it, you need to say, what is the situation then? Okay, let me give you an example. If you buy a house for 100 grand, and then you're going to spend 50 on it, and then you know the end value is 200,000. Great. But the end value is, if you refinance it, you're going to have a mortgage of 150. So you need to work backwards and say, well, hold on. If I've got a new mortgage of 150, what are my mortgage payments going to be? Work it out. And what's the rent going to be on that house? Work it out. And then am I going to be in profit every month? You need to be cash flowing a minimum of £200 per month positive for it to stack. So if the situation is, if I refinance it, my mortgage payments are going to be this and my rent's going to be this and I'll be making nothing, then you may as well sell it and just take the 50 grand cash and just do it as a flip. The disadvantage of a flip is unless you live in the house, if you buy a house, fix it up, sell it, you're gonna have to pay capital gains tax, which is about 28%. Unless you do it through a company, you could then get away with corporation tax. If you refinance it, you're gonna pay no tax, you're gonna keep the house. But it's all about knowing, well, what's the end game? Is that property? You don't want properties in your portfolio unless they're cash flowing positive. So I hope that helps. You might want to watch that back. You might have to watch that a couple of times to understand that. But you understand these formulas if you start learning this, because it's simple. Investing in property is simple if you know how, and anyone can do it. So Liam, I hope that helps. All right, MMA man, last question we got. If you've got a question for me, if I've not answered it, ask again. Go ahead, comment your questions. MMA man says, I know some people who buy land, apply for finance to build house, then remortgage house. They're able to pay the finance company back and receive their initial investment money for the land, and they also have a house to rent out. Have you heard of this, and what are your thoughts? I've done this. Yes, I think, again, I mean, look, I build houses as part of my strategies, development. And if you have to, same thing as the last question, that makes sense. I mean, when we built some houses in Lincoln, the houses were quite cheap houses. They were about 220 grand. So we had both options. If we refinance the house, we can still make money, or we can sell the house, both options work. So yeah, that's a good strategy. It makes sense as long as the numbers stack, as long as you're making 25% profit, net profit on your deal, then it works. I hope you found this video helpful. I'm doing videos like this every day, answering your questions in property so that you don't have to make the same mistakes I made. If you enjoy my videos, subscribe, ask questions, hit the like button, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.